area too. So I moved here in 2019, which of course was a great time to move your business right
It's
before all
great.
events got shut down.
Yeah. Yeah. Start over, new
Yeah.
market, and
Mm.
then start over again a year after that.
In so
For,
many ways. I
yes.
got divorced. I changed my name. I got remarried 3 weeks ago. So
Yeah,
if you're,
congratulations. I think this is
thank
the
you.
first, oh, definitely the first time that we've talked face to face
Hmm.
since your wedding. So congratulations. I saw some of the
Yeah.
photos that you posted, and it looked very like very intimate and just like super chill, which makes
Yeah.
sense
We
with
got married
y'all.
on my parents' front steps, and I wore a
Yeah.
blue dress I bought at Nordstrom Rack, and it was just, having done close to 300 weddings, you kind of know what you don't want.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
um, yeah, it was the people that I wanted to have around, and a few of our favorite things, and definitely a first look. I have strong feelings about that.
Me
Um,
too. Yeah. I'm a huge advocate for first looks. And I'm like, it's
like,
okay if you don't want to do one, but
yes,
you should really do one.
it like less even for the pictures, like as a photographer standpoint, more for the just settling effect it has to see your
Yes.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Cuz it's so weird that we separate from our person for
mm-hmm.
the entire day. And then it's like we're going to wait until the evening whenever the ceremony is to finally see each other, but we're going to be seeing each other with a couple hundred people around us. So it's
Not,
really not like a place where you can be like, "Oh man, you look amazing and this is, such
yeah.
a cool dress." It's like,
Well, it's like,
"Oh,
do you
hi."
want to do this on stage at like
Uh-huh.
it's a whole I like to say that weddings are basically a Broadway musical with all amateurs. And
Yes.
as the vendors, we have to help you nicely be where you need to be at the right time. And so, if you're not the most extroverted person, you might want to see your person in private first,
Yeah.
because being part of a gigantic stage show, which is the wedding, um,
Yeah.
is not private and you don't really
It
feel like
is.
yourself. Yeah.
It is
So,
not at all. Yeah. And then a lot of the pushback I get is like, well, no, but I want the emotions. I'm like, you don't think those are going to be suppressed with being on stage? If you want emotions, get
they
alone
don't go
together.
away. Yeah.
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 That's whenever you
So,
really feel comfortable enough, especially if you're not like the most extroverted and like in tune with emotions. You're like, I gotta keep myself all, prim and proper. Everyone's looking at
mhm.
me. Are my shoulders back and all of that? And then you see each other and it's just like, oh yay, hi. And
This
yeah,
is a good choice.
just the
Like,
two of you
yeah.
together, it's just like embrace and cry, and then you can fix your makeup if you need to. That's
Mhm,
perfect.
mhm.
But yeah, okay, awesome. Well, I'm glad that we touched on first looks. That was on my list of, of things to talk about. um but yeah, no, Libby, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited. We're just going to jump on in. I'm keeping in all of that we just said.
John,
um
thank you so much for
but
having me. I'm thrilled. And I love the way you
thanks.
talk to people. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I'm very excited to have you here. I know we connected, we had an open house together months ago, and we started talking about this, and I was just like, I've been counting down. I'm like, oh yeah, Libby's going to be on the show next week. This is going to be fun. And yeah, which is probably why I forgot to send you any lead up questions for this until like 2 days ago,
I've
because I was
had,
like, we don't really need them, do we?
and I've had like 10 shoots in the last 3 weeks. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh man,
it's October.
October. Yeah. Oh. Like September was like the end of a dry spell, and
Mm,
I was not quite ready
same.
for what October was going to bring. Even though I saw it, it was on the calendar. I've had it booked for months now, and still just like it showed up, and I was like, oh yeah, I've got like midweek photo shoots again. And it's it's not a
I want
hundred
tomorrow morning.
degrees outside. So, but yeah, okay. So something that I have added to the show recently is I want to ask you a couple questions to
Okay.
get to know you, so the listeners can get to know you a little bit better than just like, hey, give us all your accolades and all these awards and stuff
Is
you've
this
won.
is this the Colbert questions?
This is the Colbert
Okay,
questionnaire.
awesome.
um And I've also added a few of my own in there. So it's a collaboration between me and Steven. Um, so I got 17 questions. I'm going to
Okay.
have you pick two numbers between 1 and 17, and I will ask you those questions.
I'll take 12 and 17.
Okay. 12. What is the most used app on your phone?
It's probably Instagram.
Okay. Oh,
I,
yeah. I I was gonna say we don't have to like pull up the
no.
whole like settings and all of that. Yeah, I
Email, messages, no. It's Instagram. I'm not gonna lie. I spend way too much time just
yep, yeah. It's between Instagram and probably TikTok for me,
Mm,
because I do enjoy. I've curated a really good for you page. Actually, no, TikTok's algorithm has changed recently, and I am just getting a bunch of people using like the game filters where you have like a rowboat and you have to take this cabbage over here so that the sheep doesn't eat it, and then but you can't leave the sheep with the wolf, and it's just a bunch of people playing these game filters. I'm like, what are you doing, TikTok? I'm not interested in this stuff.
mm.
And
So,
yeah,
since I'm a teenager, she's always like, check this out. And I cannot, it all looks terrible, but they love that
yeah.
kind of crap.
Oh yeah. No, people love it. There's, thousands and thousands of people who are playing these games. I'm like, this is not for me. So I've curated a good following, people that I follow, which I'm glad that they
Mm.
have those tabs now. But yeah, my For You page is terrible on TikTok. But yeah,
I'm
that's
I'm
very
learning
similar
about
to your question.
TikTok. I kind of just post my reels there and
Yeah.
watch the ones that people send me and kind of get out. But
Yeah.
I get it. I get the appeal of the short form video, and
Hmm.
um, I kind of, we're older. We're just talking about this, but I'd rather watch
Yeah.
somebody explain something really interesting in under 3 minutes. Some expert
Yes.
in psychology or interior
Right.
design or photography. Just I would
Hmm.
love your 3 minute version of teach me something interesting. And I think
Yeah.
TikTok and Instagram are both pretty good for that, actually.
They are. Yeah. I like it a lot. All of those things that you just said, like interior design and like science and photography, I'm like,
Yeah,
those are all the people that I follow.
yeah.
There's this guy that mixes paints together and makes his own paint colors. They're like the like warmest, I don't know, they're like warm um forest colors
Hmm.
almost. I don't know. It's really hard to explain them, but every single time he drops new colors, I save it and then I show my wife later. I'm like, whenever we buy our dream house, we're just gonna buy all of the paints that he has and put them on there.
That's
But
awesome. I actually think it's important for us as artists to
hmm,
be regularly engaging with other artists in a different medium. I actually follow a
yes,
lady who's amazing at paint colors too, like interior. Here's how you see the undertones and things. And
yeah,
that stuff comes up for me when I'm editing photos. Like, okay, that's kind of a pinkish sort of color up here, whereas this over here is more greenish. And so how do
right.
we harmonize this? Do I crop that part out? And that sort of lattice work of creative ideas, I think, is actually really important for us as artists to grow, to have some input that's not just in our own field, not just here's your ISO and shutter speed and
Right.
da 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 da. No, like, let me just think for a minute about what colors I like, and that's going to help me see the picture I want to make
Hmm.
anyway. you know
Oh yeah,
so I don't think it's
yeah.
wasted time.
Oh, I don't either. Yeah, I think it's great, especially that kind of stuff, which I love learning about other things that are not photography, because like you said, like it ties in a lot of times where you could just be like, you might think about putting, your couple up against a wall and just be like, oh, actually that wall there is not going to be as good as this
Hmm.
one, and the
Hmm.
lighting's the same, so let's do this one because the undertones of the colors are actually going to tie in really well with like the blue suit or whatever, and that's
and I
stuff that I wouldn't have known just being me.
And that, I think, leads right into what we're going to talk about here, which is how so many things go into making you a good photographer. They're not just technical
Yes.
skill, you know? So
Right.
my background, I talk about business communication, but part of it is because I was on the front lines in customer service for years and years, and like
Mm,
wrote the customer service manual for a restaurant I worked at, and have spent all this time thinking about, okay, how do we talk to each other? What does, if I start out the conversation with this kind of communication and I really show you that I'm listening to you, how much does that mean it's better for us to work together? And I couldn't have
right.
gotten all of that knowledge from just looking straight down the well into only photography stuff. All
Uh,
of the things that we do in our lives that overlap inform the rest of our work.
oh yeah. Yeah. And then like that's the best way to live your life is just like
And it's fun.
folding all of these things onto it and just, it's more well-rounded than just this is my focus, this is what I like, and very pigeonholed view of the world and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
My 3-year-old is at the door right now. Do you need something? Hey Maddox, can you help? Okay, hold on just a second. I told you this is probably going to happen, and we're what, 10, 11
No
something
worries.
in.
No worries.
I'll
I
be right
think a
back.
lot of us have been here. So
Yes, yeah. Okay, I'll be right back.
awesome. John, if you're watching this later, I don't know if I'm supposed to just wait or like fill the space, but this is delightful. And I think a lot of us have had kids. I was actually just listening to your episode with, I think her name was Danica, who was talking about running a business while having young kids and how unpredictable it is. And so, all the good thoughts.
And we're back.
Excellent. That was relatively quick on the parent emergency scale.
It was relatively quick. She just wanted me to hold her, and I was like, I cannot do that right now. I'm sorry. I can get you a snack.
1 hour.
And then yeah, I was like, 1 hour. I was holding her before this. I will be holding her after this. But yeah, no, I like what you said about that. Like taking information from other places and implementing that not only into your business, but like into your life and just broadening your horizons, I think is great.
Indeed.
So, but yeah, like you mentioned that you were on the front lines, client communication and customer service and all that at your old job. How did that, like, what did you take from that into your photography business?
I think the most okay, so I was a bartender at a restaurant in Denver for 9
Cool.
years, and a lot of that overlapped with my early years of being a full-time photographer. So, um, as my bookings increased, I took down my nights at the restaurant and vice versa. So, I
Hmm.
thought about this a lot at the same time. And it's interesting because as a bartender, you're going to have that first interaction with a new customer like 50 times in a night. Whereas a photographer, we might do that 50 times in a year.
Yeah.
So I would think about, okay, so if I start off with a hi, like really over the top cheerfulness, like how does that work? And you'd think, oh, well, that's got to work great. But actually, I think that what clients, photography clients, and people who sit down and order a glass of wine in an Italian restaurant
Hmm.
have in common is they want to know that you care about them.
Yes.
And I think it's a lot more important to do that as a photographer. When you work at a restaurant, this is an hour-long interaction, the stakes are really low.
Right.
Photography though, you are their representative to the world. So if I'm taking your portrait, I am showing all the people you show this picture to, which on the internet is potentially infinite.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm showing them something about you. So the first thing that my clients want to know from me as a photographer is, do you understand me? And then, do you like me? Because I
Mm.
think both of those things are really important to be able to create a good image and to create an accurate and favorable image of the client. So that kind of going back and forth and going to the restaurant and talking to 20 people and then having to shoot the next morning. It was a pretty hectic time of life. I thought, all right, well, let me try this. Let me try this. Let me try this. And it turned over time into I am now the person that a lot of other photographers ask to help solve their conflicts.
Yeah.
And hey, how do you handle this kind of a situation? And most of the time, it is mainly that the client does not feel like you've heard them or understood them. Like that's
Hmm.
90% of the time what it is. Same thing with customer service in a restaurant. I told you I need gluten free, and why is it taking so long? It's that you, as the server or as a bartender, you can go, I see that. I'm going to make sure that's gluten free for you. And then they know that you understand, you
Yeah.
know? And so I think, I mean, there's a lot of aspects to client communication. There's things like overpromise and underdeliver. There's things like just keep your word. There's things like, using proper channels. There's all of this stuff, but it all comes down to, do I respect and care about, and am I listening to the
Hmm.
client?
Yes.
And do they understand that I'm listening to them?
Right. Yeah. Does it feel like you actually heard them, or are you just like regurgitating the words that they said and you're just like, okay, on to my next point, or
Or
now
worse,
I want to.
regurgitating my like pre-planned, here's
Yes.
my speech.
Yep.
Because most of us, and I don't know if this is true for you, I assume it is, I assume it's true for
Uh-huh.
most of us photographers, we're nervous going into a shoot. We're a
Oh
little bit
yeah.
like, is the light going to cooperate? Is it going to rain? Are they going to be mad? Are they going to, show up with dog hair all over themselves and
Right.
wrinkled pants? And, you
Uh-huh.
know, there's all this stuff. But one of the questions you emailed me was, what is the most important piece of advice that you've gotten? And it's,
Oh yeah.
they're more nervous than you.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Like,
100%. There's
if you're in front
something
of the camera, yeah. So I'm sorry, I
fun
keep cutting out.
fun little tie back to the TikTok we were talking about earlier. One of the people that I follow is she's an OB nurse. Her name's Jen Hamilton. She went viral for swaddling a chicken because she also like lives on a farm. She was like, this is how you swaddle a baby. I'm gonna swaddle my chicken. And now she is known as the chicken swaddler, and she has swaddled everything from like her cats to her husband and all sorts of stuff. But she's really funny and she's great, but she also is very like intentional with the I was going to say clients. They're not really clients, they're patients for her.
Mm,
But like her patients, whenever they come in, that she's there during a very vulnerable part of their life whenever they're birthing a child. And a lot of times people will come in and they will just be like super anxious, very worried, very nervous. And she said something, I'm going to try and get it right, the exact words that she said. But she said, I understand that you're nervous and that's okay, but just know that I'm not. That I have done this plenty of times and you have no reason to be nervous with me. I've got you. And I am very confident in what we're going to do today. And she has said that, like, just saying that to them, it's just like all the
I
weight
can
just
feel
like
that.
sheds. Yeah. Yeah. Just like saying that to you, like to the camera right now. I'm feeling that in myself, just like anxiousness and just weight, like lift off of we are the professionals. We
Hmm.
are the ones who, if the light is bad, we know what to do to fix it. We know where to position them. We know how to do like the hand shadow check on a cloudy day and all of that. And yeah, just like I have to explain what I'm doing because I look like I'm insane, just like
I have
turning
so
in
many pictures of my
circles.
hand, like so
Yep.
many. Just
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm like, don't worry, everyone. It's okay. You finished getting ready. I'm just gonna take more pictures of my hand. But like we're the professionals. We know what we're doing. And sharing that, if you can tell that your clients are extra anxious, or maybe they're just really, really not sensitive. I don't know if that's the right word, but like
mm,
um they feel like like arm uh, saggy arms or anything, or just like they're like, I in any time that I even like look down at all with my eyes, I have a double chin. So
yeah,
like tell me
that's a lot of
like
us.
I want you to, yeah, I'm like, who doesn't have a double chin? It's insane.
Have you
I
ever
don't
opened
even
your phone in
know.
your lap? You have a double chin. Hello.
Oh,
Um,
more than double. But yeah,
it's
like picking up on those insecurities. That's what it is. Like if they're
so.
insecure about certain things, picking up on that and being like, "We've got this. Don't worry."
Can I do so? Both of these things that you were talking about, what Jen Hamilton said, which I'm gonna go find her and follow her because that sounds amazing.
Yes.
Um, but both that and the thing about insecurities, do you want me to tell you what I do with clients that I think I wasn't even going to talk
Yeah.
about this, but these are both pieces of client communication that might be helpful for somebody.
Yeah. 100%.
The
Absolutely.
first thing I do is I have a questionnaire that I send out through my CRM before photo shoots, and I ask in it, um, I say this, I say, everyone, no matter what you look like, has something that they're insecure about. I won't
Mm,
know what that thing is just by looking at you. So I need you to tell me if you're comfortable telling me in this questionnaire that you have some part of your body or something you're worried about for this photo shoot. Please tell me here. If not, feel free to tell me in person. And
mhm.
then, if especially if somebody is hesitant, or usually somebody will say, my upper arms, my cheeks, I have a double chin when I look down. It's all the same things.
Yeah.
If I'm having that question, if I'm having that conversation in person, which I used to do before I put in the questionnaire, and sometimes it's still helpful, I tell them what mine is. And for me, if I'm standing up, just walking around relaxed, for whatever reason, I carry all my weight in my middle. My child is 16 years old, but I've been asked on a regular basis my entire life if I'm pregnant. So I will say, for me, it's my midsection. I don't want to look pregnant when I'm not. And
Mhm.
so I need to stand up. Do you have something like that? And by me being vulnerable and saying, this is all of us, like this is every person that exists. And also, no part of me as an artist is going to say, oh, I see what's wrong with you. Cause I don't know.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with anyone's bodies. There just isn't,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And so what I need to know is what's inside your head that's going to make you like or dislike your pictures. And then people
Exactly.
just usually just open right up after that.
Yeah.
The second thing,
It's
oh no, go ahead.
yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna like reiterate that like you being vulnerable first and showing that like this is a safe place. I am creating a safe place for you
Hmm.
where I'm going to share. This is vulnerable for me to tell you about this. Now it's okay. You know, it if you feel comfortable now
Yeah.
to tell me. And yeah, I'm sure that a lot of times they do feel comfortable because they're like, "Oh, well Libby was comfortable. I'm comfortable now. I don't feel like she's judging me if I say that I don't like the way that my hair parts to this side, so shoot me from over here." Then, you know, she's not going to judge me because she was vulnerable with me first. So I love
Mhm.
that. Yeah.
That goes back to a principle, which is don't the I think kind of know this intuitively. Like the main way that you can teach your child something is to model it. You know,
Yes.
the main way that you can teach your client something is to model it. So if I need you to be vulnerable with me, and I think it's worth saying that's going to save me a lot of BS if you tell me what you're insecure about before I take the pictures, because the way I pose you, the pictures I choose to take, the way I crop things, all of that is
Mhm.
I give so many tools at my disposal to make you look the way you want to look. If after the shoot you come back and you're like, hey, can you Photoshop my whatever? That's way
Right.
harder.
Oh yeah.
So I want to draw that information out because it's going to come at me at some point. If you're really concerned about something, I want to get it before the shoot because it saves me trouble. And that's
Yes.
the thing. That's why client communication is so important to us photographers, is not just let's do this great, but also let's save ourselves drama and complaints and
Right.
reshoots and all that kind of stuff whenever we possibly can.
Yeah, because we do want the best possible images for them that they're going to love, that they're going to cherish. But or and not but,
Mhm.
and we also don't want to spend hours and hours in Photoshop fixing, you know, certain lighting or shadows from something, or like, okay, well, yeah, I wasn't being aware of, you know, mindful of the double chin, and I had them
Mhm.
do like this look down and cuddle type thing, and it was there. Now I got to fix that in post. And like
Well,
it's all things that you can do to set yourself up for like a really efficient post photo shoot as well.
mhm. Mhm. And also I think it bears saying, like, yes, it's more convenient for us to not have to do so much in Photoshop, but
Hmm.
also no shade to the amazing Photoshop artists out there. It looks better. If you start with something straight out of the camera that's
Yep.
amazing, then it is the end product is always going to be better than if you have something straight out of the camera that you have to fix.
Yes.
So it's
100%.
it's good for the clients, it's good for us, open communication and modeling it and drawing it out of people, because open communication is not something that is taught to most of us. It's not something that's modeled in our families necessarily. It's not.
Mm.
It's something we do have to teach, which brings me to the other thing I was going to say, which reminds me of
Yeah.
the quote from the swaddle lady,
Yes.
which is at the beginning of most of my photo shoots. I will say, do you want your pre-photo shoot pep talk? And people will be like, yeah. And what I will say is, I'm going to take a lot of photos today. And I believe that your best smile, your real authentic smile, isn't going to be the first thing that happens when you look at my camera.
Hmm.
You're going to give me your driver's license smile,
Yeah.
probably. And
Yeah.
it's going to take a little time to break that down. And you're when you're laughing, when you're being yourself, when you're relaxed, that is when your personality and the real smile that your friends know and love you for is going to come out. And so we're going to take the time it takes to create that, and you can trust me that I'm going to shoot so you get used to me taking pictures, but the pictures where inevitably something is unflattering, you will laugh. Some people will laugh and it'll be like ha 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 ha, and half of the faces are like
Yeah.
are like so crazy and terrible. And then somewhere after that, there's this golden, shining, perfect, authentic smile. And that's what I'm shooting for. So you can trust me that the unflattering pictures, which I would take of anybody, will then
Hmm.
disappear, and you will only be left with the good stuff. But please be willing to be goofy and weird in front of my camera, because that's the only way we're gonna get the real you.
Yes. Yeah, I feel pepped up right now. Ready I'm like, yeah, no, that sounds great. I want to go for a photo shoot because like
It's
that breaks through all those insecurities of, you know, I don't really know what is my real smile, and
right.
uh, a lot of times, especially for people, you and I are both wedding photographers. A lot of people, their engagement photo shoot, first time they've ever had professional photos taken outside of like a Sears like studio where it is very much just stand here,
What
put your
is
hand awkwardly on another member of the family, and then just like smile and hold it. Just hold it. We're
It's
going to take a few of
horrible.
those. It's
We
so bad.
are people photographers. And that is
Yes.
completely different than photographing an inanimate object or a baby. Babies,
Yeah.
you can't give them direction.
No, they
We
don't know what you're
are
saying.
exactly. We are photographing people. And so half of our job, which I don't feel like gets talked about enough, is to draw out the authentic and awesome expression of the person across from us. That's way more
Hmm.
important than every single button on your camera. Like, know
Right.
that stuff. So you don't have to think about it when you're doing your real job, which is drawing out the photographic, or the look that makes a great photograph. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Oh,
So
absolutely. I had I had a couple recently that he was just not really into the photos. He was there to take the photos.
happens all the
That's
time.
fine. Happens all the time. Um, and he was just didn't want to take off his hat, didn't want to take the gum out of his mouth, and just like I'm here. You just whatever. And a
Mhm.
lot of the photos that like the first few, like you were saying, like whenever we first start this is not going to be your authentic stuff, probably not going to deliver half of these, and or any of them. But like a lot of that first bit, he was still very like standoffish, didn't really
Mm.
want to do anything, and it took a little bit for me to really find what it is that could bring him into the photo shoot instead of just counting down the minutes until this is over and you can get back in the car and go to dinner afterwards.
Mhm.
And it was doing something that was more like action based, where I had them run toward me, or I had them him like pick her up and spin or something like that. That got him a lot more into the photo shoot than
Mhm.
the like stand here and cuddle and like hold on to each other and sway back and forth and let the wind blow your hair and that kind of stuff, which is sweet. And we did do a few of those later on as well too that turned out really good. But it took a little something extra to like bring him into the photo shoot. I know that happens a lot where it's just someone is not really wanting to be there. If you
Yeah.
photograph families, it's usually, one of the kids is just like, I'm done. I took my one photo. Now I want my snacks.
It's weird because the same stuff so first of all, I wanna just say, like, if that's those clients who are not into the photo shoot, I'm a photographer because I was one of those people. My
Hmm.
my first wedding years ago was horrible. The pictures were horrible. I hated it. I hated the whole experience. I thought there's got to be a better way to do this because what it
Yeah.
was just putting the camera up there and expecting me to do something or
Right.
giving me real minimal. This photographer did not take the time to figure out what it was. There's nothing wrong with you if you don't know what to do in front of a camera. You're normal. Cameras are
Yeah.
weird.
Hmm.
Little kids are like this all the time. And so I a lot of times with like a 3-year-old, they don't understand what's happening. They're like, why do I have to sit here and look over there? That's dumb. So I will sometimes bring them behind the camera with me, show them what's going on, have them take a picture of mom and dad. They can push the button and then they go,
Uh-huh.
oh, this is
I
what the
get
point
it.
of this is,
Yeah.
and the same thing with the hesitant adult. A lot of times what I'll do is I don't want to show people the back of my camera necessarily all the time because I know what I'm
Hmm.
going to do in post to make it my vision.
Right.
But some pictures are you're pretty much there. And
Yeah.
so if I have somebody who's real hesitant or real nervous and just like doesn't want to get into it, the second I get one that's really good, then I will show them or I will show their partner and have their partner go, and then that sometimes can go, oh, I'm doing this right. You are
Yeah.
so much more cooperative and fun if you feel like you're doing it well.
Yeah.
So let's get you to a win and then celebrate that win. And then we can go up from there.
Yes. Oh, 100%. Because if you go into the photo shoot feeling awkward, this is weird, I don't really want to be here, I'm just doing this because, we need save the date photos for the wedding. And, you know, it's
Yeah.
fine. I'm going to do this. But then you have that moment where you can see what's going and you're like, oh, that actually worked. We
Hmm.
actually look like models. This is okay. I feel a
Yeah.
lot more comfortable now. Like Libby knows what she's doing. I trust her now more than I did before. I figured she would just take some good photos of us and that's fine. But like it really does build that trust just showing them that one little back of the
And
camera.
I don't even care what they think about me as a photographer. I want them to think
Right.
about themselves in a confident
Exactly.
way because that comes right across in
Uh-huh.
the pictures. If they go,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah.
I can do this,"
Uh-huh.
then that's what I'm the most excited about.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. And just like that open communication
Mhm.
is where it's at. Because I have had photographers take my photo before where it is just 30 minutes of shutter clicks. And like that's the only thing going on. Or I'm asking, like, hey, do you want us to do this thing? They're like, oh yeah, no, that would be cool. And it's just it's a lot. So yeah, having that open communication
Mhm.
during the photo shoot and especially before, which I know you mentioned this earlier about like listening during like communication with clients or even like discovery calls before while they're leads before they're even clients
Mhm.
of hearing what they are wanting and then speaking back to that instead of just going through like whenever you said going to the next thing on your list, it reminded me of I had like a 7 bullet point deal that I had hung up on the wall, so whenever I would have a discovery call, I could just look over and be like, okay, that's the next thing that I need to talk about. And it was very much centered on me of this is what I provide as a photographer. This is what it's like
Mhm.
working with me. This is what I will do instead of tell me about yourself. What
Mhm.
do you love to do together? What
Well,
is
And I
Yeah,
don't think a bullet point list like that of trying to make sure you get these points in it, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'll tell you what
nothing
I
wrong.
figured out
No.
how to do, because it is
Uh-huh.
important for people to know the things. And I have now moved to a place where I put so many questions and answers on my website. Like you can really figure a lot of things out before you even book a call. But what I'll do is I'll make most of the discovery call, or I call them consultations.
Mhm.
I'll make most of it about them and just tell
Yes.
me about you. Tell me how did he propose, or how did she propose? What are you most excited about? And a lot of times people are like, I don't know, I'm not there yet.
Uh,
But sometimes
right.
people get really excited and they tell me something, and then I can answer the questions that they have. The questions they have,
Mhm.
one couple is going to go, are you going to make me look bad because my sister's wedding photos look like garbage? The next couple is going to be like, are you going to actually give me all of the digitals, or am I going to have to go to some studio and pay you an extra $5,000 after this? Like people have
Uh-huh.
like usually they have their like one burning question, and you want to get to that quickly. And then at the end of the call, I say, do you have any more questions? And then they say, well, maybe that. And then I say, do you want me to run through the things I think maybe you might have wanted to ask but haven't yet? And then they'll usually say yes. And then I'll say, I carry a $2 million insurance policy. Unlimited time really means unlimited. Here's how you get your pictures after the fact. Here's how long out you need to schedule your engagement session. And I just like go through the rest of the bullet points that haven't been covered. And I
Yeah.
find that people really like that because maybe they had one of those questions, and it feels really open and honest and transparent.
Yes.
And but I'm not wasting their time on something I could give this really flowery explanation of something for 5 minutes, and it's not a question that had ever entered their mind. And then it comes off as kind of defensive, like, oh, why is she explaining so long about how we get the pictures? I just thought that's how it happened.
Mhm.
Listening to people is the most important part of communication, because they know what they want and know what they need, or they know what they don't want. And if you can
Yes.
answer that, if you can answer the real thing that they care about, that's going to be the most important thing.
Yeah. And it allows you to like get into their shoes of, now I can think how you're thinking
Hmm.
instead of how I think you are probably thinking.
Hmm.
And
It's
that
always You're always
just,
wrong.
you're always wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like we take all this time to build like ideal client avatars and all of this and like figure out where people shop and like all this stuff, which is helpful in some ways.
For marketing,
Um
it's not really
for
helpful for
marketing,
consultations.
not so much
When
for
you have a real
consultations,
person in front
but
of you, throw that out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, but we do tend to bring that into our consultations and talking to people a lot where it's like, "Oh, well, you should be this because you filled out my form, so you're definitely an ideal client." And then you start talking and you're like, "Oh, actually they're not." Or actually this is different. And being able to speak to them and listen to them and then put yourself in their shoes helps really like figure out what it is that they're wanting and if you're the right person,
Hmm.
because I
You.
am 100% for like it is a two-way interview, and sometimes you're just not a good fit for them and you want to be upfront and honest with them of like, I don't think I'm the best fit for you for whatever reasons, and I want the best for you. I don't want to
Hmm.
just take your money and give you subpar what you deserve. So yeah,
Yeah,
i,
because that
I
will always hurt you also, as a
yes. Oh,
photographer,
100%.
setting
Yeah.
you're not their style and you can't really deliver what they want. That's how
Yeah.
you get bad reviews. That's how you are miserable at work.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes we don't get enough inquiry. A lot of us, have gone through periods where you don't quite get enough inquiries, so you're going to try to make this one work.
Uh-huh.
But it it is always better to have the magical experience, to have the just good experience, the on the same page experience with your clients, than it
Yes.
is to try to make something work that doesn't. And I think that that's usually about values. The weddings that don't make sense for me are the ones where people are they want to look like model magazine perfect in every shot, so they want to be completely perfectly posed, because
Uh-huh.
my value is authenticity. And so I want to see your real smile. And I'm not saying the pictures need to be messy and that there's no posed
Right.
ones, but I am not going to be the one that makes you make sure your arm is exactly in the right place, and like that's just
Yeah. I'm not high fashion
Yeah.
editorial. Like that's not me. I like
Mhm.
doing that kind of stuff for like personal projects. That's fun.
Mm,
But on a wedding day when I'm telling a story, it doesn't fit for me. And there are other photographers that do that really well.
mhm.
And that's great for them. But yeah, that was actually one of the first couples that they had booked me and then ended up canceling after her bridal shoot was for that reason. And I was very upfront about like this is my portfolio, this is what I do, this is how, and this was like, oh, maybe my second year of business. So I had maybe like 6 weddings under my belt at this point. And they were just like, okay, no, that's great. We like the way that these look. And then I took her bridal portraits and everything was fine. And then I delivered them. And she was like, I really just wanted like magazine cover, editorial looking, and we didn't get that. And I was like, that was a miscommunication between us. Like I did not ask the right questions or
Did
at
that
least
hurt really
listen.
bad when that happened for you? Like, was that hard?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was really hard because that was the first, I had like prided myself that 100% of the people that I met with in person booked with me. And then they booked with me and this was the first time that I had to like one write up a cancellation policy uh and contract and all that because I was like, I don't know what to do now. But it was also like, oh, we didn't like the photos that you took. And
Ah,
that,
that's
yeah,
so bad.
that was the dagger that I was
It
like,
really isn't
oh,
personal, but like, oh, it feels personal. This we put
yes.
so much of ourselves into this. And that's the thing
Oh
with
yeah.
pre-qualifying people is you get to avoid that.
Yes. Yeah.
Um I
But
was
yeah.
just that made me think of the reason that
Uh-huh.
I have made client communication my pet project was a wedding that things were fairly devastating to me. And so I tried to figure out, okay, how can I learn from this, grow from this, get through
Yeah.
it, and not have to do this again? And it was a wedding almost like 7 years ago now where they they booked me, they liked me, of course they negotiated a discount because it was a particular season in my life where I was kind of desperate, and then when they got the pictures back it wasn't quite the level. It just wasn't what she was expecting because she was just someone
Yeah.
who I imagine every little thing in her house is really super perfect, and
Right.
whatever, it was just a mismatch. And then she's like, well, you didn't get as many photos as the groom as you did of me. And I was like, I'm not trying to perpetuate stereotypes here and stuff, but like that's most weddings.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, and you didn't, and that wedding and that girl, that bride, who is a lovely person and who I realize now we just were not a good fit, but I went through the wedding, and that was so devastating for me. It was so painful. Probably because I'm that Hermione Granger type who wants to do everything right the first time. And
Exactly.
the oldest daughter, like ADHD, all the things. And it I was really, I was just, I wanted to hide under a rock for like a year. And I know that that was kind of disproportionate. But after I emerged from that, I thought, you know what? I think I know a few things about conflict, and conflict that was lower stakes with people at the restaurant, that aren't my
Mhm.
clients, came in and wanted a pasta.
Right.
Um, I realized, like, okay, so the thing that I needed to do when that bride was upset at me is listen to her and
Mhm.
draw out all the things that she needed to say, that she needed somebody to hear, and let her say those things to me and not to Yelp and
Right.
not to my Google reviews. And the truth is
Yes.
she didn't leave me a bad review, and I didn't give her any money back. But I paced around my backyard for an hour listening to some of the most painful things I had ever heard in my life because it felt so personal. And
Mhm.
then I realized once I came through that, like, no, like, the more communication, the better. And I will get through any other conflict I need to have. And the truth is, she just needed somebody to hear her. And once she got through it, and once I said, and I didn't say, no, that's not what happened, or I mean, I did I did say, actually, you're telling me about a particular picture, and I have the list you requested from me, and that's not on there.
Right.
Like I wasn't um selling myself out or anything, but anyway, that's why I got into this.
That makes sense. Yeah, my camera just died, by the way. Uh,
Oh.
that's why this is up right now. But we can keep chatting. I don't think I can
Sure.
change my camera since we started recording. Let me see if I can do that real quick. No, I cannot. Okay.
All right.
Well, cool. Well, the rest of this, you can look at this mirrored version of my Nikon webcam utility. Um,
Fantastic.
but yeah, yeah. The bad part of shooting a wedding over the weekend and then not checking the battery before starting a podcast. But yeah, no, I think, and that's something like through that you took that as an opportunity to learn instead of just an opportunity to be like, well, I'm a failure and
Mm,
they don't like me, and
mm,
that's really difficult, and which it is really difficult, but having that as something that you can learn from, just uh, like that is the difference between um, like successful people and people who fail and shut down their business, is learning from uh, I don't want to even use the word failure because it's not a failure. It's learning from
conflict
uh,
or hard
conflict.
experiences,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and I think it's essential to know how to deal with stuff like that to be
yes,
a successful business person, and so
yes,
it's not a failure in any way if you learn from
no,
it. And that bride has continually posted her wedding pictures on her anniversary every year, and there were a lot of things she was happy with. There was not this wasn't a failure on my part, but
right,
it's made me a way better photographer, so I'm grateful for her at this stage of my
good,
life. So
yeah,
um
yeah, and the same with like that bride who said to me, I wanted the editorial look. I wanted something different than what you
mm,
provided. That allowed me to really figure out like, oh, I've got, because I had no real communication before because I was a baby. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was just thrown into the wedding game, which is not a great place to like cut your teeth and learn, because it's like you're dealing with people's really important days in their life,
mm,
and you're like, oh yeah, sorry, well, I didn't think about getting a picture of you and your dad.
mm.
Why would I know that? Because that happened at the second wedding that I ever photographed, where I didn't get a picture of the bride and her dad alone, just the two of them. I was like, I could like crop this one.
Well, and that's okay. That's like what one of the big complaints that this bride that I was telling you about has. I didn't get the groom and his mom, but I got all the other combinations like that. And
uh-huh.
I was able to show her on her list that she had me and my mom, me and my dad, him and his dad. She didn't have him and his mom. And it's like, that has taught me also, everybody's family is so different. Like I don't know
Yeah.
if he's close to his mom. I don't know if his mom is alive. I don't know if she's
Yep.
there, until after the family. So I ask a lot more questions now. And that was another learning experience. But also I was able to say, like, you I have a clause in my contract that's like, if you really want something, you need to request it in writing,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. Make sure that I
um
know this before I even arrive. Uh, yeah.
and questionnaires
No.
are huge too. If you have,
Questionnaires are great.
I don't know if you use a CRM, but one of your questions you had emailed me was like, what kind of
Hmm.
automations are really important?
Oh yeah.
And when I finally got into using a CRM it was late for me. I started in like 2020, changed my life, because now I know that I'm asking everybody the same questions, and I can
Yes.
go back and I can look at my questionnaires and go, oh, okay, here's the address, here's the name of the bride's mom, here's all of this kind of stuff. Um,
Yes.
and I
Oh yeah.
actually, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna like piggyback on that. Just yes, CRMs are, it was a game changer for me because
Hmm.
I decided to start my business in 2013, and then I didn't have a CRM until like 2018.
Mm.
And it was years and years. I mean, I also started with like paper. So I had a literal filing cabinet with people's contracts and
Oh
their
yeah,
contact
me too. For
information and all
11
that.
years, my first wedding was in 2009, and I
Yeah.
got a CRM in 2020. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I know.
Yeah. Because it is like, it's a big thing. It's like,
Mhm.
this is the system. It's not an efficient system, but this is my system that I have. And that's going to take a lot of time to transfer everything over to a CRM and figure out how to use this whole like online thing and all of that. It was definitely a learning curve jumping into a CRM, but
Um,
not nearly as much as I thought it was going to be.
yeah, yeah, especially would it be appropriate for me to reference a particular to sort of plug one here?
Oh yeah, sure.
So when I first started doing client communication teaching, I actually got hired by a new CRM that is created by a family, mainly family photographer, but they also do weddings and that kind of thing,
Okay.
specifically for photographers in their first like 1 to 5 years of business. And that
Oh
is called
nice.
Pixello, Picsello. And they are I wrote a lot of the template emails in there,
Okay.
for in terms
Nice.
of good communication and checking in with people ahead of time. And the photographer who started it, her name is Jane, was really on
Hmm.
board with, we have a similar style. Like the way that she would prepare her clients for family shoots was honestly amazing. And all that's kind of incorporated into the CRM. So if you're a new photographer listening to this, pixello.com, and you can also get 30% off if you use the code Libby30.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah, no, we'll have
just
that in
throwing that
the
out
show
there.
notes too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because there are like so many different CRMs, and
Hmm.
I was actually at a conference this past week, and
Oh yeah, I saw that in
Taryn,
Dallas, right?
yeah, yeah, up in Dallas. I was at the Heart conference, and
Mm.
Taryn Rochelle was one of the speakers, and she was talking about systems and all of that, and she said like there are a bunch of different systems, and there are some that a lot of people like talk about because they have good affiliate programs and stuff like that, where
Yeah,
like it's like, oh, sign up for this because
right.
I get you know
I'm actually
40
not
bucks
sure if
every
I get
time.
anything from that. I've never they haven't paid me
Yeah.
for anything other than their writing those emails for them.
Oh cool.
But
Yeah.
I just am a
But
believer in it. If you're a really
oh
advanced
yeah.
photographer, that may not be the one for you. But if you're brand
Hmm.
new, it really helps with mini sessions. It's got booking and all
Yeah.
that. Anything you can do to
Yeah.
automate it makes you more money. Period. The end.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And what she was saying was, in like, don't just like Google what's a good CRM or whatever, but like look at the different ones and see what is going to fit the best for you. And like you were saying about like Pixella's set up for those in the first few years of their business. And
Mhm.
that is huge, where you may not want a super like I use a couple different ones, but one that I use is Tave,
Mm.
and that is not very user friendly. It is not something that I would recommend for someone in their first few years of business. I know that they're working on making it more user friendly, but like a lot of the people that use it because the like you can run reports that
Mhm.
are very in depth on different things and get to know your numbers in a deeper level. And I was like, that's great. That's what I want to use. One of the features that I want in a CRM, but I love that like Pixel is more set up for
So full disclosure.
beginners.
And it
Oh,
works
cool.
for what I need it for. I found it before Pixello was even founded, and moving
Uh
everything
huh.
over to Pixello, it wasn't quite the right fit for me.
Yeah.
But Pixello, once they get to the level, I mean, and they've been working tirelessly for a long time, but it's founded by photographers who are like us, who have the
Yes.
same like people first. And that
Mm-hmm.
I just believe in their company so much, and I'm so excited for them. But you're right, like Tave's awesome for having all this crazy functionality you might need.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, when you're doing all the others. Anyway.
Yeah. So something to keep in mind for anyone listening who's just like trying to figure out what CRM to get if you are using pen and paper right now or just working out of your Gmail. Um, you know, they're not all created the same. So look into those, and there's a bunch of different good blogs kind of going into the pros and cons of each one.
Yeah.
So yeah,
There's a lot
but
that aren't built for photographers, and there's some that
yeah,
are.
oh,
And a lot of
100%.
photographers use like Honeybook or Dubsado, which are for whoever, and you might be able to
Hmm.
customize it and make it work for you. But I do think having a photographer be the one who figured out all the features is very helpful because we have very specific things in this industry that we need.
Oh yeah, yeah. Very different than a lot of like product based, still creative businesses, but more product based instead of service based. So okay, awesome. Well, I have really enjoyed this entire thing. This whole conversation has been great. Even though my video's out now, I am smiling. I'm having a good time. But yeah, Libby, thanks for being on the show. Before we go, I did want uh, to talk about what we're loving this week. We
Oh,
can be literally anything. I just like to kind of end the show with something that's bringing you joy, something that you're loving this week.
okay. So I grew up homeschooled and I didn't have a television really for a very long time. So
Uh huh.
my husband, we've been together a little over 2 years, and we just got married a couple weeks ago. My husband and I are watching a lot of TV, which feels so like interesting and refreshing to me because I
Oh
haven't
yeah.
seen anything. So he's walking me through like all these movies I haven't seen, and we just started watching Fraggle Rock
Oh
on Apple
yeah.
TV, which I
Uh huh.
didn't. I love the Muppets as a kid, but for whatever reason, I never saw Fraggle Rock. And they're all so nice to each other, and all of
Yeah.
their little like emotional problems that they have, they're all so supportive. And like the Fraggles are the society of people that love to play. Like I just love it. So
Yes. I love that. I didn't know that you said that was on Apple. Is that
I'm
right?
pretty sure it's on Apple TV. I never
Okay.
am totally sure, but look it up because
Nice.
yeah, it's like seven
Cool.
seasons of just like goofy.
Yeah.
It's great.
So fun thing. I was also homeschooled growing up,
Shut up.
and yeah, so which is probably why we hit it off so well.
Maybe.
We were like, I can tell something's different about you. But yeah, like we didn't have TV for the longest time, and when we did, it was like like the 3 channel ABC, Fox, whatever.
PBS, like so much
PBS, yeah,
PBS.
it was that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw Fraggle Rock a couple times as a kid, but definitely couldn't tell you anything about any of the characters or anything like that. So I might have to check that out because I know that it would still be nostalgic, even though I didn't watch it, just because of the era that
Hmm.
it was set, or that it was created. But that's really cool. I love that you're like going through, and because I did the same thing. Like I had never watched any of the Harry Potter movies
Oh, right. I wasn't
or
allowed
Lord of
to.
the Rings. Yeah, I wasn't either. It was that was witchcraft and stuff. So
I know. Okay, we really have to
so
talk more then. This is
I
wild.
know. Yeah, I feel
Um,
like we had very similar childhoods.
no, I love Harry Potter. What house are you in?
I'm a Hufflepuff.
Oh, I would have guessed that. I'm a Ravenclaw.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. But just going through all the stuff that like my wife went through as a child or like a teen.
Hmm.
And I'm like watching Harry Potter. Well, I guess I watched Harry Potter in my 20s, but like watching stuff in my 30s now where like I didn't see what was it? The Titanic, or I guess it's just called Titanic.
Titanic with
I
Leonardo
uh
DiCaprio.
yeah, I
Yep.
didn't see that until I don't know, maybe 5, 6 years ago.
I absolutely started coloring my hair red because of Kate Winslet in that movie.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's fun.
No, that's awesome.
Okay. I am also loving a show this week. We I don't know, we watched the first season whenever it came out and then just forgot about it. It's something the show's called Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, with Steve Martin and Martin
Steve
Short?
Martin, Martin Short, Selena
I
Gomez.
haven't watched it yet.
It's really good.
Okay.
Um, I like it a lot because they're also podcasters. So they kind of the premise of the show is like they're all into true crime and they end up like meeting in an elevator one day and find out that they all like the same true crime podcasts. So then a murder happens in the building, and they start their own podcast and like release it in real time as they're trying to solve the
Oh
murder.
my god.
And
Okay, I'm gonna watch this now.
yeah, it's really great. And like Steve Martin, Martin Short, just iconic comedy duo, and Selena Gomez is incredible. And it's really good show. We just watched the second season. Season 3 is out now, so that'll probably be something I'm loving in the upcoming weeks. But yeah, season 2 was also very good. So if you watched season 1 and didn't even know that there was a season 2 yet, like me, um, go check it out. It was really good.
Awesome. I am gonna check that out.
Sweet, and that's on Hulu.
Nice.
Uh, but yeah, okay. Well, Libby, where can people follow you? Where can they find you online
All
and
right.
all the things?
So if you're still on Facebook, which John and I were just discussing is kind of not, there's not as many people on Facebook lately, and that's totally fair. But if you're
Yeah.
still on Facebook, I do have a Facebook group that is specifically about client communication stuff. I know there's a lot of wedding photographer and other kinds of photographer groups where people are like, oh my gosh, this client said this, and then I said this, and then what am I supposed to do now? My group is
Mhm.
entirely about that. It's called Effective Client Communication. You can look it up on Facebook, or you can go to my website, libbydollar.com. Yes, dollar like money. Yes, that's my maiden name. I'm keeping it.
You have to.
It's such a good name.
It's
Um,
great.
libbydollar.com, and there's a button up at the top that says education. That'll take you straight to a page that is all my stuff. So I have a mailing list where I do like an advice column kind of thing, basically pulled from the Facebook group or from real life situations where it's an anonymous question of, hey, my client said this, and then here's what I would say
Mhm.
back. Usually with my I would recommend, art, should you email them, should you call them, why, what should you say, what are the other questions I would ask, what are your next steps, that kind of thing. That's my mailing list. It's not like, hey, buy my things. I will
Right.
probably come out with the course eventually, but right now I also offer one-on-one consultations. So like if you have, specifically if you're dealing with your nightmare client and you want somebody who's been there and who can help you talk through it, figure out all the angles, decide, are we going to call them, are we going to email them, are we going to email them multiple times, are we going to call an attorney? I'm not an attorney, but I will walk you through the process of dealing with somebody that's really hard. If you are a photographer, that is my area of expertise, and that is on my website as well, libbydollar.com. Either click education at the top, or libbydollar.com/education will also take you there. And there's a link to my
Awesome.
Facebook group and my mailing list and all that, all on that same page.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I will have all those links for y'all in the show notes as well, so you can just click on over and follow Libby all over the place. But yeah, well, thanks for being on the show. This was great to get to chat a lot more in depth than we do when
When
whenever
we're
we
like,
see
hey,
each other
I hope
in
you
the
book a lot of
wild.
business.
Yeah. Oh,
Bye.
wait, someone's coming over to your booth. I
All
got
right,
to
I'm
get
out of
back
here.
to mine. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I hope
But
I see more of you in both ways here in the
yes.
South-ish Texas market, where there
Yeah.
are tons of weddings happening all the time.
So many weddings. Yeah. So awesome. Well, cool. Well, thanks for being on the show. I really enjoyed this.
I really enjoyed it also, John. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Yay. All right. All right. And then Facebook, YouTube. Thanks for being here. It was great having y'all.